Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a truly mind-bending chapter, recent innovations in biotechnology. We're going on a wild journey here, from massive global environmental fixes all the way down to the invisible, microscopic building blocks of life itself. We're unpacking exactly how science is fundamentally rewriting the rules of what's possible. Here is the quick roadmap for our crash course today. We'll start with the spark of the biotech revolution, then move through healing our environment, upgrading agriculture, regenerating the human body, exploring the incredibly tiny nanotech frontier, and finally, how we're actually building life from scratch. All right, Section 1, the biotech revolution, the spark of human curiosity. Let's get right into the human element that kicked off this entire scientific leap. So, meet Sir John Bertrand Gurdon, an English developmental biologist. Way back in 1956, he ran an experiment that, well, it completely changed the trajectory of modern science. He took the nucleus out of a mature, specialized cell, from a tadpole's intestine of all things, and transplanted it into a frog's unfertilized egg that had its own nucleus removed, and amazingly, that egg grew into a totally normal, complete frog. So why does that matter? Because it proved, definitively, that a mature cell still carries the complete genetic blueprint to create every single cell type in an organism. That single realization laid the absolute foundation for cloning. It's the direct precursor to Dolly the sheep decades later. Gurdon actually won the Nobel Prize in 2012 for this. And I just love the title of his Nobel lecture, The Egg and the Nucleus, A Battle for Supremacy. It honestly sounds like a sci-fi blockbuster, right? But it perfectly highlights the dramatic, microscopic battles that opened the door to all of modern biotechnology. Moving right along to Section 2, healing our environment, tackling industrial pollution. Let's scale up from a single frog egg to the massive environmental degradation we've been dealing with since the Industrial Revolution. We all know fossil fuels are a huge problem, so science is pushing a natural alternative, bioalcohols like bioethanol. We are literally taking biological products, wheat, sugarcane, even leftover fruit waste, and turning them into fuel. And it works through this super efficient four-step process. First, treatments release the stored sugars. Second, microorganisms ferment those sugars. Then it goes through distillation and drying. And boom, your everyday crops become clean-burning fuel. And this isn't just a lab theory. It's happening at scale right now. In India, for instance, oil companies are officially permitted to sell petrol blended with up to 10% ethanol. Obviously, the more ethanol we blend in, the less fossil fuel we burn, which drastically cuts greenhouse gas emissions. But there is a catch. Using ethanol can actually cause standard steel engine components to rust, and it oxidizes aluminum in carburetors. So automobile manufacturers literally have to tweak and upgrade their engine designs just to handle this greener fuel. It's a whole domino effect. Now, dealing with solid waste, this is where it gets really crazy. Think about those mountains of plastic we throw away that normally take hundreds of years to break down. Well, scientists have discovered strains of bacteria that literally eat non-biodegradable plastics. No way, right? They are currently working to genetically improve these strains so the bacteria can decompose waste even faster. We're essentially drafting a microscopic army to clean up the planet. Okay, Section 3, upgrading agriculture, the second generation of GM crops. Let's look at how genetic modification is actively upgrading what ends up on our dinner plates. We are way past simply making plants pest-resistant. This is the practical magic of biofortification. Check this out. We have golden rice, which is specifically fortified with vitamin A to fight global malnutrition. We've got genetically modified potatoes, packed with 60% more starch, which actually means they absorb way less fat when you fry them. Hello, healthier potato chips. And then there's the Arctic Gala apple, modified with a non-browning trait, so it stays perfectly crisp and white sitting on your kitchen counter. Science is literally designing better, more efficient food. Let's zoom in from global agriculture to human health with Section 4, regenerating the human body, stem cells, and bioprinting. What happens when our organs fail and our body just can't fix itself? Typically, we rely on an allograft, your standard human-to-human transplant. Someone generously donates a kidney or a liver. But as we all know, wait lists for human donors are heartbreakingly long. So, to bridge that gap, medical science sometimes uses a xenograft. This means crossing species lines. It sounds like pure science fiction, but doctors routinely use pig valves to repair defective human hearts. But what about when donor lists are hopeless and xenografts aren't enough? That's when we turn to the absolute bleeding edge, tissue engineering. By taking stem cells, which can turn into any cell type in the body, and combining them with 3D bioprinting technology, we can engineer tissues right in the lab. Using extrusion, inkjet, or even laser-assisted printers, we're taking bioinks made of living cells and polymers to print human tissue on demand. It's a total game changer. Let's see how this builds as we enter Section 5, the nanotech frontier, science at the atomic scale. We are shrinking our focus all the way down to the atomic level. To even grasp this, you have to picture an atom, which is less than 1 nanometer. To put that in perspective, a single tiny grain of sand is about 1 millimeter. A nanometer is 1,000,000 times smaller than that grain of sand. It's almost impossible to visualize, but that is the awe-inspiring scale of nanobiotechnology. And at this microscopic level, the normal rules of physics just kind of break. For example, a standard chunk of gold is yellow, right? But if you shrink gold down into nanoparticles smaller than 30 nanometers, it actually turns ruby red. Up to 100 nanometers, it looks pink. It's changing physical characteristics based purely on its size. Plus, breaking material down this small exponentially increases its surface area and its reactivity. These nanoparticles are built from inorganic metals like gold, silver, iron oxide, and natural organic polymers, like chitosan, extracted from crab shells, or alginate from algae. Because of that massive boost in surface reactivity I just mentioned, these incredibly tiny particles become powerhouse tools for both medicine and the environment. Nanotechnology touches absolutely everything. In healthcare, it allows us to deliver drugs precisely to a single target cell. In textiles, they're making fabrics that block UV rays or literally clean themselves. It's used in advanced food packaging to keep your groceries fresh longer, and even in creating vastly better lithium-ion batteries for renewable energy. The real-world applications are just staggering. And finally, our last stop, Section 6, Building Life from Scratch, the promise of synthetic biology. This is where pure biology meets engineering. Traditionally, science was totally reductionist. You want to understand a frog? You break it apart into tissues, then cells, then DNA. You reduce it to its parts to read the code. Well, synthetic biology completely flips that script. Instead of breaking things apart to read the code, we are the ones writing the code. We can now build and regulate lab-grown meat, engineered plants, and entire biological systems from scratch, designing them to function in highly specific ways. Which leaves us with this final, profound thought to wrap up our explainer on this chapter today. We've gone from cloning frogs to 3D printing human organs to literally engineering life at the atomic level. If humanity now holds the keys to program life itself, to clean our planet and regenerate our own bodies, what incredible, world-altering innovations will we choose to build next? Thanks for exploring this with us, and keep questioning the world around you.